Welcome to the Inject Creativity Live Show. My name is Rob the Robot.
No.
Welcome to the Inject Creativity Live Show. My name is Rob. Welcome to the Inject Creativity Live Show. My name is Rob.
Well, that's not the greatest start we've had. I'm not sure what's going on there. Poor old Rob is dying on me.
Rob's doing a mic drop. My name is Rob. That's all you need to know.
Well, I'll tell you what. We're going to obviously re-record this later or fix it up in post-production. So let's pretend that introductions happened. And 3, 2, 1. Thanks, Rob. Welcome to Inject Creativity Live, a show aimed at empowering the next generation to be lifelong digital creators with the help of Adobe tools. Welcome, Erin.
Hi, Tim, and welcome to all who joined us live and via the Adobe for Education YouTube channel or the Australasian Adobe for Education Facebook group for this, the 86th episode of Inject Creativity Live, being recorded in December of 2022.
For those of you who are with us live, we do encourage you to say hi in the chat, and that's already starting to happen, I can see. Hi, Roland. Great to have you with us. And share where you're from and add some comments throughout the show.
We have Tim Cosgrove from Canada in the background monitoring the chat, and he will share the most relevant comments as they come in.
Let's start this episode with an acknowledgement of country. We respect and honour all Indigenous people from the lands we reach out to during this event. We acknowledge their stories, traditions and living cultures. We acknowledge them as the first educators and the first creatives, and we commit to building a brighter future together. I'm coming to you from Wurundjeri land in the Kulin Nation, otherwise known as Melbourne, Victoria, Australia.
And I'm coming to you from the country of the Jagera, Yugara and Agurapul people from around the area, otherwise known as Brisbane, Queensland, Australia.
Let's welcome our Techie Whiz and Adobe Senior Customer Success Manager, Jerry Wong, to the stage. Hi, Jerry. There he is.
Hi, everyone. I'm coming to you from the home of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, otherwise known as Sydney, New South Wales. Today, during this episode, we have Adobe Education leader Michelle Dennis as a special guest.
And during this episode,
go on, Erin. Yep.
And during this episode, we will also be sharing an Adobe Express tip and a number of Adobe-related education resources and professional learning opportunities for you to take back to your schools, universities, and other places of learning.
Now, folks, this is the final episode of Inject Creativity Live until at least May 2023. We are exploring new ways of connecting with teachers at the start of next year, and we'll tell you more about those initiatives later in the show. We do hope you enjoy this final episode, though.
And if you do, please share it with your colleagues and wider education networks via adobe.ly/ICL-playlist, which takes you to the Adobe Education in APAC playlist on the Adobe for Education YouTube channel.
You're watching Inject Creativity Live with Tim Kitchen and Erin Raithke.
Well, Rob worked that time. It was good to have Rob back again. Let's meet our special guest for this episode and welcome back to the show, Michelle Dennis.
Yay! Hi, Michelle.
Hi. Thanks for having me back again.
Yes, it's lovely to have you. And for those who've not met you before, can you please share with us some of the work you do at Haileybury?
Yeah, I'm head of digital at Haileybury, which is a fantastic job because it means I get to oversee how we use technology to help students learn better across Haileybury's 4 Melbourne campuses. And even more excitedly, we're adding a 5th one next year, a virtual campus. So we're very close to launch now, so it's an exciting time.
Yeah, you've been working on that for a while. Congratulations.
Yeah, we're looking forward. First day back next year, end of January, with real students learning virtually.
It's wonderful. You've been a big leader in that area and for a number of years. In fact, I think it was Haileybury that introduced me to Zoom many years ago. Never heard of Zoom before then, but it was everyone knows Zoom now. So tell me, Michelle, what will you be sharing with us today?
Well, it's a very interesting topic at the moment. I'll be looking at how we use AI in the classroom and what are those big questions that we need to start asking ourselves as educators.
Fantastic. Well, thanks, Michelle. We're looking forward to hearing more from you very soon.
We hope you're enjoying this episode of Inject Creativity Live with Tim Kitchen and Erin Rathke.
Last week we piloted what will be a new style of webinar with a working title of Adobe in 15 minutes. This pilot is now available on the Adobe Education in APAC playlist on the Adobe for Education YouTube channel via adobe.ly/ICL-playlist.
This is a short, to-the-point, theme-based webinar for busy teachers who are looking for some inspiration to help engage their students.
We are planning a series of Adobe in 15-minute sessions to be dropped on the Adobe for Education YouTube channel most Tuesday mornings at 8 o'clock in the morning Australian Eastern Daylight Time in February and in March 2023.
These will be followed by a 30-minute non-recorded session after school on MS Teams for any teacher to come and view the 15-minute session together and chat about its relevance to a range of curriculum areas.
Each week will be based on a different theme, such as infographics, digital portfolios, video stories in the classroom, animation in the classroom, and more.
Look up adobe.ly/APAC-edu-events to register for a reminder email and a copy of the recording. And please share this registration site with your colleagues and wider education networks.
Now it's time for a quick Inject Creativity Live Adobe Express tip.
All right, Erin, I'm going to share my screen here, and I've got a little tip for everyone. I'm not sure if you're aware of it now, but when you go to the plus symbol and you choose a web page to create, let me get my little pointer working, my little screen pointer thing.
While you pull that up, Tim, I will just mention we've got a Facebook user, an anonymous Facebook user joining us from Lima, Peru, and I think that might be Mark Christie.
Oh.
Hi, Mark.
Well, if it is, lovely to have you with us, Mark. I wonder what time it is in Peru. Maybe Mark will let us know. Or whoever
1
it
a.m.,
is.
I think he said.
Wow, what's he doing awake? He's as mad as Tim Cosgrove. All right, so this little tip is to suggest when you click the web page option in Adobe Express and you start building a web page, in the past you didn't have a lot of choice for the start of your web page. It was pretty much a full screen title. But these days, we've had this now for a little while, you can go to this section here, which is a short cover title or even a split layout title. And I quite like the short cover title, and I've been using that recently. So now it becomes like a banner, a header, so you can do your title. This is my title. And of course, you can adjust your themes accordingly to change your font and so on. Let me just quickly choose a different theme here. This is quite a popular one. And so now you can see my short banner type title instead of a whole page title when I'm creating a web page. How do you think that would go down, Erin?
That is fantastic, and I've been meaning to get to playing with this a little bit more to see how it looks in the present mode, because obviously there's that utility in the web page to be able to present it and sort of use it as more of an interactive, easy to share slideshow type thing without that just being restricted to slides. So I'm interested to see how those show on the screen when you've got it in that mode and are using it during a presentation.
Yeah. Hey, Erin, where can teachers and students find out more about Adobe Express?
Well, they can look up adobe.ly/express-APAC to find out more about working with Adobe Express via the Get to Know Adobe Express site.
Hello, welcome from Adobe's Global Education team, and thanks for watching Inject Creativity Live. If you're looking for more inspiration, learning, or resources, come join us at the Adobe Education Exchange at edx.adobe.com.
Last week, we shared the final edition of the Adobe Education Update Australasian newsletter for 2022, which is available to view via adobe.apac.edu.com.
There are short articles in there about the new Adobe in 15-minute and Adobe in 30-minute webinars for 2023, as well as links for key on-demand courses on the Adobe Education Exchange.
Please share this newsletter with your colleagues and scroll through the various articles that have been published this year to help inspire teachers to enhance their creativity in the teaching and learning process. Let's hear from our head of education initiatives globally, Ben Forder.
Hi, Ben Porter here from the Adobe Education team. Thanks for watching Inject Creativity Live. And for all the educators out there, if you have not yet joined the Adobe Creative Educator program, please do so.
Well, it's time to welcome Michelle to the stage for her presentation. Over to you, Michelle.
Great. Well, it's nice to have this opportunity on the last one for this year to talk about something that is in the news at the moment and is a real contentious issue, and that's artificial intelligence. And I always like to look at these issues with both a personal eye, but also with an eye of what does that mean for us in the classroom? How can we better prepare our students to encounter and to face this issue as they prepare for their future and our future? So my personal experience recently came up when I started teaching my first media class for this year. So like many other schools, we start a little bit early. I met my new class about 3 weeks ago, and we started off with a bit of Photoshop. So their task was to create a movie poster, and they needed to learn some very basic Photoshop skills. Now, it brought me back to when I was first learning Photoshop back in the 90s, where in order to select something, you had to zoom right in. I had to grab a lasso tool and I had to grab little sections and slowly slice around it. And it was very painstaking. A lot of work involved to select something really well. And as time went on, more and more tools came along, and that got a little bit easier. We got the magnetic lasso tool, and then the most recent one of all, which is this tool here. And I don't know if everyone's aware of it. It's called the Object Selection tool, and it uses artificial intelligence. So what happens is that you can select at one button click an object in that photo. So it's able to look at that photo and go, I can see what you're trying to select. I can see there's your object, and it makes your life easier and simpler. You don't have to drag around it. Then all you need to do is to make it simpler and simpler and simpler. So you just need to refine instead of doing it all at once.
Michelle, can we go through those steps again? So you selected that particular tool, and it's the the fourth tool down from the top?
It's the fourth tool down from the top, and it's called the Object Selection tool. And when you hover over objects, now it is very CPU intensive because it's artificial intelligence. And you hover over the area that you want to select, and it should be able to see it. If it doesn't, you can draw a box around it to select it. Now, mine's at the moment thinking because I just tried to get to select something, but it does slice around it very, very finely compared to that old job that we used to do where you had to slice around it bit by bit.
So you'd recommend doing it with a reasonably powerful machine just because there's a bit of processing involved?
Yes, and that's one of the things we're finding with artificial intelligence, that it does require a really strong CPU. So one of the things that I found, for example, is that like Microsoft Teams at the moment has a tool with their artificial intelligence where if you are reading something or working on something, it will lift up your eyes so you're always looking at the camera. So you're making that connection with your audience, even if you're reading from a prompter or if you're working on Photoshop. So if you're doing a demo, people feel like you're connecting with them, even when you're really concentrating on what's on another screen. So,
Right, I'm going to disappear,
but
Michelle.
again,
You keep going. Keep going.
but again, that all takes a lot of computational power. The interesting thing I found is I am a tech adopter. I love technology. I've grown up with it. I was teaching myself Photoshop as a 14-year-old girl off my mum's version of it. And it's something that like is part of who I am. So if you're going to find anyone who's more likely to embrace technology, I'm pretty one of the people who you'd see embrace it a lot faster and with more enthusiasm. But as I showed students how to do this, I felt a little bit of fear. I realized that this skill that I've just spent years and years getting better and better, it's almost 30 years. Wow, I'm old. Almost 20, 25 to, oh, thank you, Roland. I feel like I need an M1 Mac as well. It's almost 30 years refining this skill set of selecting something really well, a really pivotal skill in using Photoshop. And one tool means that these beginners who haven't used Photoshop before are able to select things well and just move them around and start manipulating them. So the time to adopt it, the time to start using Photoshop suddenly got much more condensed. And I started feeling that very personally. Like, what does that mean for me? All these skills that I've become a master at, suddenly, are they as important anymore? Now, obviously, you can see that having some skill to refine, to be more creative with it. What if I don't want the whole kid? What if I want only the legs so that I can add it to an animal at the top? All those kind of ideas is still important, but suddenly the emphasis becomes much more on what you do with it and less about the skills themselves. And the fact that I reacted so emotionally made me realize that there is still that huge fear factor when it comes to looking at these new technologies. The same tools, this one in particular has hit the news a lot recently. So this is OpenAI, which is an API that you can build into a whole lot of different tools. Um, An open API allows you to, for example, get it to generate text. So here I've got some text that I've been writing for a letter for parents. And instead of me actually writing it and then trying to make it more, English is not like my core area. Um, what I might want to do instead is get the AI go in and summarize it in a tone of voice that's suitable for parents. So I'm going to hit submit, and it takes your text and it rewrites it for the audience that you need it with. Now, that's just a simple way of using it that I've been using with my job. But the way that's kind of scary and that fear factor for a lot of teachers is, well, what does this mean for essay writing? And it can write some pretty good pieces of information in the style of an essay. You can get it to generate the kind of text that you would put in to submit. And that's really hard to catch because it's not copied from a database. It is generated for you. So it's not going to be picked up by a lot of those plagiarism checkers. So that does raise a fear factor. The other area we're seeing that fear factor is in the art world. So I've been using Mid-Journey. You can see I've been playing around with a robot in front of a classroom and seeing what I can create with those prompts. And again, like that fear factor comes in. What does this mean for me as a creative? What does this mean for me and my creative skills? And those are really big questions. I've only got 5 minutes here. So, what I thought I'd do is go through some of those big questions and some of the things that we as educators need to think very carefully about as we prepare our students for the future. So, the small question, the first one that we need to start thinking about as teachers is assessment. And what does this mean for assessment? If we're able to have an AI create something, how do we know that we are actually assessing a student's work? And it does mean that we need to approach assessment in a different way. I do think that schools need to be challenging that idea of what should we do for assessment? How should we question assessment? And how should we design assessments that challenge the student? So that is something that we are going to have a look at. For me, like, there are some definite skills that are going to be needed in terms of essay writing, for example, that you will want to do some live demos where they're doing it in front of you. You will want to have some things where they are given access to AI, but then it's what they do with it. And there are moments where you do want them to also have more restricted choices. So assessment's going to be really big, and there's a lot of big questions that schools need to be working on now, because there are students who will be cheating at the moment with the traditional type of assessment. The next one is the skills that they're going to need. So the skills they need are going to change as as AI comes in. So like I saw with Photoshop, the skills that students need will change. Their approaches will need to change as AI gets better and better. So we do need to think really carefully about what we teach in the classroom, how much time we spend on different things, and the basics. How do we manage to make sure that students understand what's going on behind the scenes so that they can build on those skills? So I think that that's something we do need to have a discussion. I can see in the chat that those questions are being raised in there, and I'm really excited because those are the right questions. Those are the questions we need to be asking. Then the next question is about ethics and the law. And this is a really big one for us as creatives. Now, I know for me with creativity, one of the steps is inspiration, that you do need to be constantly looking at new things and different artists. And to be creative is often not creating in a vacuum, but creating on the shoulders of giants. So not copying them, but certainly in my brain, I'm always making unusual connections. I'm building all my human experiences, all the things I've seen from different artists, and producing something. Is that different from AI, where it does look at all the things that are out there, all the Flickr photos, all of the deviant art creations, all of the images and artistry that is available on the internet, and using that to generate different ideas? Is that truly creative? Is that truly new? What does that mean for ownership? Do we need to acknowledge every source that inspires our AI creation? And how is that different from a human creation? Now, I'm not talking about copying, I'm talking about inspiration here. So I think that there's some real ethical issues, but there are also real legal issues where the law needs to adjust and look at the idea of ownership and data. And you can already see this in the European Union, where they are looking at laws that will um, make it so that you have to be upfront if you're dealing with an AI bot, for example, as AI becomes more and more human sounding. So there are some really, really interesting ones. Oh, absolutely. AI accurate hands is definitely we're noticing as you play with AI, you'll notice some real interesting things that AI can and can't do. But it's early days, so I do think that it's worth acknowledging that they'll probably get better and better. And so it's worth having those discussions now. And finally, the final questions that I think we should be raising in the classroom is, what does it make us ourselves as humans? Like, what does it mean to be creative? What does it mean to be human? What is um, something that makes us unique, and can we be copied by technology? And some of these are really uncomfortable questions because some of the answers might not be what we're hoping for. Some of them are deeply spiritual questions, but I think they're things that we need to work together and discuss in the classroom now so that our students can be part of that as we move forward.
Michelle, you have stimulated quite a lot of discussion in the chat there. And while you were talking, I thought about something that Adobe's been doing recently in the last couple of years, is the authenticity, the content authenticity initiative. Let me just quickly share my screen here so you can see what I'm talking about. This, and we've got the link up there in the chat there too. This is not just Adobe, but we started this initiative so that you can identify what is authentic and what's not. It's such an important area as AI is becoming so much more powerful these days. And that's something well worth looking at and sharing with your students about the importance of this. It's very early days, but we've now got organizations all over the world, as you can see in the banner that's scrolling down the bottom, that are part of this initiative. And so I'm very proud that Adobe has actually started it, and it's being taken very seriously, and it kind of connects with what you're saying. Thanks, Michelle. That was terrific. Any other last quick comments at all?
No, I think it's great that we're having these debates. I would encourage people, as we feel very emotional about AI, to also be very careful about how you participate in the debates as well, because they can be very emotive for very genuine and deep reasons. So acknowledge the fear factor when you are talking to people about AI. It's real.
Thanks, Michelle. Appreciate the time you've put into this presentation. All the very best.
Thanks.
Hi, Rebecca Hare here from the ACE course on the Education Exchange. Thank you for watching Inject Creativity Live. If you haven't taken the ACE course yet, definitely go to the Education Exchange and sign up, and I'll see you there.
Well over 1 million teachers have joined the Adobe, let's bring Erin back up here as well. There we go. Have joined, oh, there she goes again. Have joined the Adobe Education Exchange to get lesson ideas and professional learning based on making the most of their Adobe applications in the classroom.
One of the most popular courses on the Adobe Education Exchange is the Creativity for All course, which, when completed, allows you to join Level 1 of the Adobe Creative Educator program.
Over 60,000 teachers have enrolled in the Creativity for All course.
If you look up adobe.ly/ACE, you can do the Creativity for All course on the Adobe Education Exchange at any time on demand to get your ACE Level 1 badge.
Other courses on the Adobe Education Exchange can be found via tinyurl.com/edX-PL. One recent course that you may like to explore is called Visible Thinking Routines with Adobe.
Here is Tanya Avrith from the Adobe Education team to explain more about this course.
Have you ever wondered what was going on inside the minds of your students during a lesson? Thinking routines have multiple pedagogical implications. They can help increase student comprehension, help teachers gain insight into what students think and how they learn, help teachers see and hear student voice, promote self-reflection and cognition in students, create opportunity for collaboration and communication through the sharing of ideas, and above all, help students take agency in their own learning. Okay, let's get creating.
Look up adobe.ly/edu events to find out and register for localized professional learning events for the Australasian region.
This includes new sets of 15-minute and 30-minute webinars planned for February and March 2023.
Hi everyone, I'm Tanya Avrith from the Global Education team here at Adobe for Education. I'm so excited that you are watching Inject Creativity Live. Please check us out with the Adobe Creative Educator program and be on the lookout for all the amazing challenges that we have every month. See you soon.
Thanks, Tanya. Now, if you're on Facebook and you're not already a member of the Australasian Adobe Education Community Facebook group, please join via facebook.com/groups/AUSAEL.
Join us and keep regularly involved with Adobe in education and the wider community.
As mentioned earlier in this episode, we have a newsletter called the Adobe in Education Update Australasia, which now has a new look via adobeapacedu.com.
Complete the contact form via adobe.ly/contact-edu-APAC if you don't already get a reminder about this publication each month and join the email list.
Hi, I'm Tacey Trowbridge, Head of Adobe's Thought Leadership and Advocacy. Thanks for watching Inject Creativity Live. And if you're excited about creativity, take a listen to the Creative Educator podcast.
Bring Michelle, Jerry, and Tim Cosgrove from Canada up on the screen for our farewell. Michelle, any final words from you?
Just embrace the opportunity to have some deep discussions.
Fantastic. I was frantically taking notes during your presentation. I'm going to have to watch it again, Michelle. Thank you so much. So this is the final episode for 2022. Thank you to all who've joined us live for all 32 episodes we have recorded this year.
A very special thank you to Erin and Jerry for helping me put this show together and all 32 episodes. Thank you so much for everything that you've done this year. And a special thanks to Adobe Education leader Tim Cosgrove from Canada, who's been monitoring the live online chat, not just this episode, but the last few episodes. It's been great to have you involved, Tim. And thank you to those who have joined us live for this episode, but also those who've joined us live in the past. It's always good to have a live audience.
Indeed. So please go to and share adobe.ly/ICL-playlist to view past episodes of Inject Creativity Live by the Adobe for Education YouTube channel.
For those watching the recording, we look forward to connecting with you again next year. For those who are with us live, join us now for an informal fireside chat via adobe.ly/edu-meet-APAC. Hopefully we'll see you all again in May 2023. But until then, have a wonderful holiday season and a great start to the 2023 academic year. And don't forget to, can we all say it together? Don't forget to keep being creative. That almost worked. Bye for everyone. See you later.
Take care.
Let's see if Rob can say goodbye to us properly as well.
Thank you for watching this episode of Inject Creativity Live. If you are not watching this live, join us live next time. Use this QR code or link to find out about dates and topics. And use this QR code and link to find out about other Adobe in Education professional learning opportunities. On behalf of the Adobe in Education team, keep being creative.